are in listen-only mode.
Hi, and welcome to QR Code Questions. We have the answers. This is a webinar put on by Great Garment Graphics. We're going to run through a couple points today, and hopefully you can sit back and enjoy the broadcast. I'm going to go through quickly today's agenda, and then we're going to go right into the webinar. And if at any point in time you have a question, I do ask that you save them to the end, but feel free to type. We have Jody online with us, and she can help you out with just some basic questions. If I'm going too fast, if I'm going too slow, if I'm boring you, type her a note, and she will tell me to adjust my cadence and help us out in that respect. And if we don't get to your questions at the very end, please feel free. We'll give you an email address, and you can shoot them over. We'll make sure and take care of them for you. So let's talk about today's agenda. We're going to start off explaining what a QR code really is and how implementing QR codes as a part of your marketing plan, how it really benefits your business. We're then going to go into demonstrating creative ways that small businesses are using QR codes. Then we're going to get you the newest, latest, and trends with QR codes on garments. And we're going to offer important tips on how to track the success of using those QR codes in your marketing campaigns. So what exactly is a QR code? QR code is actually short for quick response. And you know, it's simply a barcode that contains data, and that data can be read by a smartphone's camera. Now today, most smartphones come equipped with software that allows them to be downloaded with a QR code reader, and that's going to be key. And I'm going to talk about that later in the webinar about these QR code readers and scanners. Once you download that QR code reader, the smartphone's camera acts like a scanner, allowing it to read the barcode. So if we take it and then give you an example of a traditional barcode, as if you were in the supermarket and you looked at the barcode, which was called a UPC code. It has the digits below the lines, and then they run it through that scanner. This is basically the same concept, only it's formatted different. QR codes, when they're read by the smartphone scanner camera, it actually translates into a URL. It can translate into a phone number. It can translate into an address, links to videos, and links to websites. So exactly, the QR code, it can be generated online, and there are several free online QR code generators, and I can't emphasize that point enough. QR codes are not something that should be intimidating to small businesses. It's easily accessed on the internet, and the codes are generated free online, so there's no cost to you to generate those. In addition, smartphones need to have a QR code reader, and those too are free online for the most part. There are some that charge, but if you take a hard look, there are a lot of free code readers out there. I would recommend, though, that you would go to the website from which your smartphone is manufactured. So if you have, you know, an AT&T Verizon phone, I would recommend going to their site first. So once you've generated the code, how does it actually benefit you and benefit your business to use these codes? Well, one of the first points I want to make is in traditional print advertising, one of the largest problems that we've had to conquer is reprints. The cost of reprinting brochures because information has changed. The cost is astronomical. And when it comes to a QR code, you can actually use a QR code for multiple promotions. And let me be very specific when I say that. You can reuse the QR code. You can't just use the same QR code on 3 different campaigns at the same time. You can switch out the campaign information by changing the landing page or the link that is created by that QR code. Months down the road, some of the details in your campaign may change, but instead of that link that's generated by scanning the QR code going to one page on your website, you can change that and put up a different page so that the QR code goes to a different website page, a different phone number, a different address. The other thing that benefits your business when you use that QR code is smartphones, and the idea of smartphones and the purchase of smartphones has increased explosive growth in that industry. they're getting more and more popular and their price is dropping. So depending on the demographics of your audience, which if you've attended some other Great Garment Graphic webinars, you've attended Marketing Your Business in 2012, you know that one of the points I always go back to is know your audience and get close with your target market. Because your target market may be on the cutting edge with respect to the smartphone technology, which would benefit your business. The other great thing about using QR codes, it's instant information. You know, when you would hand out brochures or flyers, the collection of data to find out if your marketing is working was next to impossible unless you conducted a survey, which is costly, and focus groups are very costly. So when they're scanning the QR code data, it's actually so accurate and intricate details can be accessed and compiled instantly. So let's say someone in India is accessing your website via QR code. You'll know immediately. The mechanism is just about flawless. That being said, when you have these QR codes and you're tracking your marketing program, you're also going to need an analytics program. And I know what you're thinking. Well, gee, Colleen, you just told us that this is all going to be free and it's all generated online, and now you're telling me I need an analytics program. What's that going to cost me? Well, honestly, Google Analytics is a great tracking program, and it's actually free online as well. So again, you know, we don't have to invest a lot into this to make our marketing program a success. In addition, QR codes actually bridge the gap between your offline and online media. QR codes are easily added to business cards, flyers, brochures, posters, billboards, signs. And there was a company that actually did hard copy, hardbound books, and they added QR codes, and those QR codes linked to versions online of audio versions of the book. So again, you're taking your offline marketing, which is very difficult to track, and the QR code allows you to bring it to your online marketing, which can be tracked. QR codes also enable sharing and building a community, and this is really important in today's society. So I'm going to give you a little tip. There's an application out there, and it will actually, when you scan the QR code, or the QR code, it actually links to your like button on Facebook. So you can link your Facebook page to this QR code, and people can like you on Facebook. You can also recreate your discounts that are specific to the QR code, run them in advertisements, post them in your store, and then turn them into retweets so that people are sharing these discounts and sharing the followership on your Facebook. And all of this is helping us build a community. And when you interact with your market and you interact with your customers and you build that community, that's going to help you make sales. QR codes can be used for call to actions, which is most important in marketing. At the very moment when a prospect is exposed to your message, when you have a QR code, they can scan it and they're automatically connected to your offer, to your call to action, to your website. You can program the code to deliver a text message with a promo code to get a discount, or you can have a call us or email us message where people, when they scan the code, it automatically calls your phone number. A little example, the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas has used QR codes in magazine ads. They promote their facilities that way, and when you scan their code in their ads, it actually can take you to a video with a free room offer. And you know, I know what you're thinking. Look, Colleen, that's great for the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. We are a t-shirt shop out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, you can do the same thing. You can put a QR code in your ad that you have placed in the church bulletin, and somebody could scan that and go to an offer to attend a free trade show, which you're going to be at. So just a little idea there. You don't have to be a large business to implement QR codes. QR codes can contribute to your SEO and SMO. So now we've used a ton of initials in one brief sentence there, huh? There's an article in Social Media Examiner, and it's a good publication. It's also online. You can take a read of that. And it goes into detail about how QR codes can be used to both enhance your search engine optimization, and that's the definition of SEO, and also your SMO, which is social media optimization. And they do that by increasing the traffic to those searchable objects and further optimizing. You know, if you'd like more information on the SEO and the SMO, shoot Jody a quick email. Great Garment Graphics will take care of you. We can put a seminar together on that if you have the interest in that. because SEO and SMO are very veiled. So until now, with offline media like print or billboards, you're not able to measure the effectiveness as precisely as you can with a QR code. The QR code can measure your results based on click-throughs and leads. And finally, QR codes can be used creatively and be made to look good, and you can incorporate them into your graphic design and layout of your ads. Now, I say that, but I'm going to give you a word of caution. If you've not used QR codes before in your marketing, and you've not worked with QR codes extensively, go slow with this part. I'm going to give you some examples of the way QR codes can be used, but please keep in mind, the fancier you make that QR code, the prettier you make it look, the more difficult you're going to make it for a smartphone to read. And what you want to do is not make your customer work for any information. The less work that they have to do, the better off they are. So let's go through. Let's take a look at some creative codes that we found online. And again, if you scan these, they will work. There's one that they've put some different colors into. They put the rose in the middle of it, kind of fancied that up, and I really liked that. But again, caution should be used here because that could be difficult for a smartphone to read. Here's another one. They've actually got a picture in the center of it, put some little detailing in on the code there itself. This is great for the folks that do promotional products. I really liked this. This was a great idea. How about you never have to create a flyer again to sell a house, and you just go up to that big sign and you scan it with your smartphone. You probably get all the information about the house that's for sale. And then we were going to talk about the creative codes on garments. And this is great. This is actually on a hoodie. If you scan this code, it will work. I like how they put obey the code there. That's clever. In addition to it being big and bold on the back of the hoodie, a lot of companies are starting to use these QR codes on the inside tags. So if you scan the tag, you get the washability, you get where the garment was made, you get information about the company who created the garment, you can get information about the company who created the design on the garment. Here's somebody who put a QR code on a cufflink, which is an interesting way to go. And this coming up is my personal favorite. This just goes to prove that our pets can actually earn an income themselves. This kitty cat has a QR code on his tag, and you know, he could actually link to where his family lives or the family's website, or he could link to a business. It's good to put your pets to work. Now we're going to talk about implementing QR codes. So you get an idea of why we actually need to do this in our marketing, whether your business is a large business or a small business. So why actually are consumers scanning these QR codes, and why have they gained in popularity? Let me tell you something. Curiosity killed the cat, but curiosity catches our customers. Some people just are curious because QR codes don't say anything. They just have an appearance, and they're curious as to where they link to. So if you're planning to add QR codes to your marketing, it's really important to consider what motivates prospects and customers to snap that QR code. Most people are looking to get a discount or a deal. A lot of people want to enter a contest. They get additional product information when they scan the codes, or they're interested in making a purchase. Those are the top reasons why someone would scan a QR code. Now you have to keep this in mind. QR codes, along with other social media and mobile actions, relatively new to the market here in the U.S. So you've got to understand some explanation might be needed to your customers. You may have to, the first time you use a QR code, maybe you put a little tag beneath it that says, scan me, so they have an idea of what to do with that, because some people still don't understand what a QR code is all about. Let's go a little bit further. Let's break down the code a little bit. What types of businesses are actually using these QR codes? Well, QR codes, as I've said before, are not limited to big businesses, and you, if you're a small business, should not be intimidated by using QR codes. There's a lot of information out there. There's easy ways to generate the codes, so don't be intimidated by using them. QR code usage is greatest among individuals between the ages of 25 and 54. Scanning has actually increased 25% among the age group of 35 to 54-year-olds. So this kind of reinforces the idea that QR codes are actually moving past the early adoption phase, and they're really readily used and scanned by your target market. If you are looking to, have customers in the age range of 25 to 54, which is quite a lot of us, then by all means they're using these codes. And if you wanted to go even further, you can learn that about 2/3 of the scans are done by women, and they're often the heads of the household. They are interested in QR code scanning to get additional product information. They are entering contests, and they're making purchases via their smartphones, which is something we need to talk about later on. As with anything, QR codes do have potential pitfalls. So we're going to walk through a few of the potential pitfalls, and I'm going to give you some quick fixes so that if you do come across these when you're using a QR code, you can actually fix the problem before it even happens. My first problem, we kind of touched on it. Your customers may say, QR code, what is that? So again, we just need to explain the technology. Using QR codes in your marketing obligates you to explain what they are and how the consumer benefits from using them. That's the biggest thing. Explain the benefits to the customer. So what you might want to do, first time you use a QR code, put scan me, great discount available, and that will create some interest. And again, you're just explaining briefly to the consumer who may not know what the code is, what to do with the code. Your second pitfall may be that you need to use a mainstream QR code reader. Consumers have to download a QR code reader if one's not included in their smartphone's default application set. Don't create problems for your customers by using specialized codes. So what's the fix to that? Well, you choose a dominant QR code format. If you jump online and you go to qrstuff.com, they have some great information about QR code formats, what to do, what not to do, recommended readers, that sort of thing. The other thing you need to do in using QR codes responsibly is protect against misuse. 1/3 of the mainstream QR code reading smartphone applications are vulnerable to website redirection. Well, what does that mean? Well, in plain English, it means somebody could scan your code and go to the wrong website. But what's a quick fix for that? Use one of the QR code apps that are less prone to redirection. In other words, only download readers and generate QR codes from reliable sources, and then that will get you right out of that pitfall. What else could happen to you? Well, you need to ensure that QR codes are readable. Like ordinary text, QR codes become less effective if they're too small. One of the guidelines I want to give you is make sure that when you're using QR codes that they're at least 1 inch square. Anything smaller than that could cause a problem to a smartphone QR code reader. You'll want to simplify the code, and we just kind of briefly touched on that. We saw all those pretty codes, and they're dynamic, and they're fun to look at, but honestly, the most important thing with your QR code is it has to be functional. It has to work. You want to reduce the information in the code, and you want to minimize the link size using a URL shortened link before creating the code. Now, what does that mean? Well, when most of us go online and we go to google.com and then we search for something, we land on a page, and if you look at the address bar at the top when you land on a page, it's going to have a really long URL. It's going to have code in there, it's going to have digits in there, it's going to have alphanumeric characters, it's going to have punctuation, and those URL addresses get really, really long. Well, when you go to make your QR code, one of the things you want to do is make sure that that link is shortened, and when you go to a reliable QR code generator, they will help you with shortening that URL. And the last pitfall that you might encounter, and the quick fix for you, enhance QR code scannability with a plain border. Okay? Now, when we looked at those really fancy QR codes, we had the pretty colors, we had the rows in the middle, and there was no outside border around that QR code. So one of the things you want to do to help capture the QR code, place the code on a plain background, which all those were on a plain background, either white or black, a solid plain background, and ensure that the QR code has a design-free margin around it. So in other words, a plain black border does just fine with respect to a QR code. So let's quickly go into some tracking of the QR codes. Now we did a webinar a little while back and we talked about tracking your marketing program, and one of the things we talked about within tracking was the actual QR code itself. So we're just going to go a little bit deeper this time. We're going to go into the basic code metrics, and the metrics are what you really want to take a hard look at to see if those marketing dollars are really doing what you need them to do. It's like any marketing program. It's important to track these QR code results, make sure that your dollar's working for you. So there are 4 basic QR code metrics that we're going to want to monitor. You want to monitor your impressions. You want to monitor the actions. You want to know the conversion rate. And you want to know your snap-through rate. And we're going to go into each of those in detail. That way we can take a hard look at each of them. So what exactly are impressions? Well, the impressions is the number of times the QR code is viewed in its original context or surface. And this is usually the same as the number of impressions of an ad. So in other words, when somebody is flipping through the magazine, when somebody is driving along the highway and sees the outdoor display billboard, when somebody's going through the newspaper and sees your ad, that is what they call an impression. And that is where they're also seeing your QR code. And that's why that term is the same as in general print advertising. The impression is what you're getting when somebody actually sees that code. Very important metric. The next metric is the action. This is the number of people who ultimately buy or take that next step once they snap your code. And this should be in line with your marketing goals. In other words, to me, this is the most important. You always want your consumer, your customer, to take action. So if somebody buys your product, you want to make sure that that was one of your marketing goals. In other words, if you created a t-shirt, you have decided that you put X number of dollars into that t-shirt to create it. You know you want to make a 10% profit. To do so, you need to make sure that 7 people buy your t-shirt at $10. You want to make sure that your marketing goal is set the same way. You want to make sure that you get 7 impressions, which translates and connects into 7 actions. The next thing we want to talk about is the conversion rate. And what is that conversion rate? Well, it calculates the percentage of people who convert those who snap through your QR code. And the actual mathematical formula is actions divided by snap. So it's how many people actually are going through and snapping that and then taking action on your QR code. And again, these are all fancy terms that when you go into Google Analytics, they break that down very nicely. You can see when somebody clicks on your QR code where they're actually coming from and what they've actually done. Did they just click on it? Did they just did they snap it and then delete it? Did they snap it, then take the next step and go to your website, or did they make a phone call to you? Did they email you? That's what your conversion rate is looking to. Last thing we want to talk to you about is the snaps and the snap-through rate. Snaps, this is actually the number of people who snapshot your code, your QR code, and are linked to the landing page or other content that you build into that code. You've got to make sure that if you are actually taking them from snapping that QR code to a landing page, that you actually take them to a landing page that is smartphone friendly. Now that may sound silly, but a lot of people will design that QR code and they'll put a lot of effort into their marketing, and then they'll make a site where the QR code links to, and the site can't be downloaded to a smartphone. And most people who snap these codes are on a smartphone, so you've got to make sure that the information that those people are snapping to is actually coming up on that smartphone. And then you want to look at your snap-through rate. And what that does, it calculates the percentage of people who take this action, and it's actually dividing the number of snaps by the number of impressions. So we talked about how many people see your ad, well, how many people then snap that, and that's getting your snap-through rate. Now, I know this has been brief. I know that there could be a lot of questions. Please, again, feel free to email Jody and give us a list of questions. Again, if you would like to see a webinar on SEO or SMO, we're happy to put that together for you. I wanted to tell you about the next upcoming webinar, which is March 15th, which is Spring Sports Orders, Decorate to Win, which is going to be hosted by Transfer Express. That is going to run from 2 to 3 p.m. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed.
Colleen, as of right now, we don't have any questions, so I guess it's a great time to conclude the webinar. And once again, thank everyone for attending.
Thank you, Jody.